All right, so what we have here is make the lineup. We got this from UTRGB, and also Shayland Pioneer uses it also. Um, they call it different things. We call it make the lineup. So just going by the chart over here, what we have is the order that you're hitting in. So this group right here, this is your first hitter, Diego, second hitter, Acosta, third hitter, George, fourth hitter, Dante, and then the DH is Kike. I've seen a lot of the other teams that do it. They don't do it with this extra hitter on. They just go with four guys. But we add an extra hitter on here. That way I get some more guys hitting. So that's the different things on that part. This is the group. Okay, so what we have is the second infield is a group. The second outfielders and catchers are a group. The starting infield is a group. Starting outfield is a group along with the catchers. Okay, so the catchers go with the outfielders on all. So you got four groups. You got five guys in each group, and you also have runners down here. So you have two runners. These are two guys that are running with the infield, second infield. This is a guy that's running with the outfielders, and then this is a guy that's running with the starting infield. This is a guy that's running with the starting outfield. And really, these guys pretty much run the whole time. These are extra guys. A lot of times it's younger guys or guys from the bench. So they can all run it. They can all run at the same time, or you can just do one for each group, however you want to do it. But we kind of stack them all over there. That way they're all ready to go. So the way you score points and the way that you win, the way we actually, it's called make the lineup because we actually rank our kids, try and do this as much as possible. That way everybody gets a chance to show how good they are. So every time you have a barrel ball, which is a hard hit ball, you're going to get a point. Every time you sack bunt, you're going to get a point. Every time you have a web gem, you're going to get a point. Every time you have an RBI, you're going to get a point. And you can add other things. You can add base hits, doubles, 2 points, however you want to do it. This is just the way that we do it. That way, there's not a lot of points that they can score unless they have a great day. And then these are our negatives over here. So anytime you have an error, anytime you have a lack of effort, which can be called out by any coach at any time. And then anytime you don't put a ball in play, that means your 3 cuts that you're going to get for the round. If you don't put a ball in play, if you don't help us out, anyway, you don't make it tough on the defense, then you get a negative. And we'll have guys, struggle and don't get anything out of the cage, pop it up in the cage, things like that. So they'll end up getting a negative. I think we added other negatives later on, but these are our main ones. These are kind of the ones that we start with. So here's your first group, and here's the rotation down at the bottom. This day I had the second outfielders and catchers hitting first, and then the second infielders were in the cage. And you can do it however you want. But the way we did it most of the time is the second infielders are actually the ones who hit first. Second outfielders are in the cage. And then the starting infield eventually go to the cages, and then the starting outfielders. So they're down there working with a coach in between. We don't have anybody sitting around. That's the good thing about it. So what you have is our cages are set up down here. So this second group is in the cages hitting. Our backup infielders are actually live at the plate. And then, of course, the starting infield and the starting outfield are playing defense. So everything is live. And that's pretty much the way you do it. That's the way you start it. And as soon as this second infield is done, the second outfielders will come in and we'll switch. So the second infield ends up coming in and playing defense. Or, again, you can switch these up however you want. Just make sure you got defensive, 2 defensive groups out there, outfielders and infielders. So that's kind of the setup. And the way that we set up the field is we end up having a big screen right here. And we actually have a coach sitting right here, and he's the one with this chart right here. He's the one that has the chart in hand. He's the one who's scoring everything. We have our runners, which our extra runners are kind of here back behind the screen, set up, ready to go. We have a bucket right here because any ball that's hit, and so if you you tag a guy out at second base, whatever, the ball's got to immediately go to the first baseman. First baseman puts in the bucket, and we're ready to go. So the coach, which we throw from our platform out here. So here's a coach here. There ends up being a coach in the coaching box at third. And then usually there's a coach, kind of just going over everything back behind second base, getting a good look. And then we have our Big Bubba set up. And, of course, then we have the hitters and everything else. So that's just kind of the setup for it. Again, guys in the cages, guys playing defense, playing everything live. So the way that you do the rounds is we started with doing 3 rounds, and you get 3 cuts in each round. And it actually took too long, so we actually cut it down to 2 rounds. That way we could do it almost every day at the end of practice. So instead, if you want, the first round would be with nobody on, which is, it's a good way to start. But what we do is we actually start with a runner at first base. That way we get to turn as many double plays as we possibly can. You get tons of chances to turn double plays, and usually within a round you're going to turn 3 or 4 double plays, which is good. So the way we start it is Kike would be at first base. Okay, or if you don't want any of these guys to be running right off the bat, then what you can do is you can just have your extra runners run. But we like to have our DH start over here, and then the next guy will be Diego once he comes out of the cage. So that's kind of the way it works. So we start with a guy at first base, and what happens is, so we've got Diego here at the plate, is he's got 3 cuts, and that's it. So he's got 3 cuts to score as many points as he can and try and get as many runs as the team that wins is actually the team that scores the most runs. So this first group scores 4 runs. We just keep tallying it because they end up, going through the different rounds. So there's 2 ways that you score this. Okay, so they can get, say Diego comes up and his first ball is just a shot laser beam to the shortstop. No matter what, if it's a barrel ball, he's going to get a point. Okay, so he ends up getting a point. And the times I'll go over in just a second. So his first at bat, he ends up getting a base hit, or say he just hits a hard ground ball to the shortstop, and our coach thinks it's a barrel ball is hitting about as hard as you can possibly hit it. He's going to get a point. If not, then he doesn't. But the big thing is that that's 1 out. So that first cut is 1 out, no matter what happens. So he could come up and he could hit a ball into the gap. We're playing it live. The guy comes all the way around and scores. All that really happens is we end up giving them a run, that team a run. He's going to get a point for a hard hit ball. He'll get another point for the RBI, but it's still an out. Okay, and if the guy ends up, not making it all the way, ends up at third base, the neat thing about it is you have these extra runners. So this extra runner will step in. So what you end up having in that situation, is a runner at first and third with 1 out, because no matter what, okay, it's an out, which is good. Now you can play infield in, you could play corners in. So it gives you a lot of different live situations just over and over and over again. So already got 1 out. Diego's got 1 out. He hit a double, or actually let's just say he hit a single. So he got the point. All right. Next pitch, he swings and misses. Okay, that's going to be 2 outs. All right, so now we got 2 outs. So if your infield was playing in, okay, now they're playing back. So again, they get a lot of different looks, and you end up having. So on the last one, he's coming out, and the big thing is on that last one now, the coach that is at first base, okay, the one that's over here behind the screen, he's actually got a stopwatch, and he's going to write down his time. So, and you're going to know if they don't get out of there. So on the last pitch, say he swings and misses at a pitch in the dirt, that's the 3rd out. Okay, that's the 3rd out. He's going to move on, but it's no matter what it is, he's coming out. Okay, so he's running. Base hit, he's going to try and make it look like a double or whatever he needs to do. He's playing it live, but the big thing is on that last one, say Diego swings and misses, he's still sprinting. Okay, he's sprinting through. He's getting timed. Okay, so he's getting timed over here. And What the catcher will do is to keep playing is on that third cut, if it's not put in play, if it's popped up in the cage, if it's a swing and miss, if it's a called strike, he's going to roll the ball out front, and he's going to go inside, and throw down to the first baseman. So the catcher gets a lot of work in this if you got guys that are swinging and missing a lot. So that's the first round. That's a runner at first base. And then the second round, this is where usually most of the guys score, but we start with a runner at second base. Again, here's the coach. This is what's tough. First baseman is playing in, and the first pitch they have to sac bunt. So the first pitch has to be a sac bunt. So now Diego's back up again. Okay, we've gone through this whole round. All these different guys have hit. Every single one of them hit. Every single one of them hit with just a runner at first base. Now they're starting to hit with a runner at second base. First one has to be a sac. And for us, it almost has to be perfect because it's, unless I'm on the mound, but we've got pretty young coaches, so they'll come out and they'll throw this guy out at third base a lot of times. This guy's going, trying to get a good jump, make sure the ball's down, and the first baseman is charging. So if it's not a good bunt, then he's definitely going to get thrown out at third base. So it really makes these guys focus on getting the bunt down. And again, foul ball, swinging, don't make contact on the bunt. All those things, those are going to be outs. And again, this guy's trying to advance. So now we have all of our runners kind of stacked over here by me as a coach. And so say he does get it down. Okay, so if he does get it down, this guy gets to third base. Okay, and it's a great bunt, and it's a bunt for a base hit, then we'll actually end up putting another guy over here. But remember, every cut is an out. So even if he does do a great job. So with the sacrifice, for that sacrifice bunt, Diego does a great job of sacrifice bunt. He ends up getting a point for that. Okay, so that's the way it works. All right, so that's the first pitch. And so say he doesn't get it down, he don't get an extra runner here. Now after that first out, okay, we're just playing it live. All right, so we're playing with a man at second base. Okay, so if he comes up and gets a hard hit base hit, of course he's going to get the point. All right, and it gives us a lot of chances of trying to throw the guy out at the plate. So we get a lot of work at throwing to the plate. You know, the only tough part, of course, is if your center fielder's here and it's a base hit up the middle and he's trying to throw it through that screen, what we do is we just say, okay, he would have been out, or he would have, or he wouldn't have been out by looking at the way the ball is thrown. Just the way, this is one of the only things that kind of bad about having the screen out here in front of the coach, of course. So that's with a runner at second base, and again, after that second, and then after the third one, no matter what happens, it's 3 outs. So the next guy comes up, we start all over again, okay? And actually Diego ends up being the guy at second base, and Acosta comes up, and he gets his chance to sac bunt, okay? If he gets it down, he gets a point. If he doesn't get it down, things like that. So, and then you go through all the different guys. And at the end, what you're going to have is the amount of runs. So this first group scored 4, next group's only scored 1. So this is the team competition, and then you end up adding up all the points. Okay, say Diego had an error. You're looking at the times, and you're writing down. So what you're doing is, by the end of the day, Diego scored. You got 2 pluses, 1 negative, so he ends up getting 1 point for the day, and we'll have it on a chart. And we'll start ranking them and adding all those up. And then the group that scores the most runs gets to come up and do what we call the opposite field competition, which is kind of what we always do. So on the opposite field competition, say this group here, second infielders win, they all compete. They're here in the Bubba, and they get 3 pitches to try and hit, 3 front tosses to try and hit the screen as many times as they can, and things like that. So that's kind of the competition we do at the end. But that's make the lineup, and really, it for us, it's really shown who's going to come through during the game, who the best hitters are and things like that. But it also gives us a lot of different situations, live situations in the field that we weren't really getting before. And I think that's it on the charts. If you got any questions, then just go ahead and contact me.